still on the surface of what's, you know, like even like say the sun yesterday, like the amount of like say, you know, you could still see that the regeneration of the buildings is one thing, but the regeneration of people like is another thing.
Say when my kids was growing up, like there was an awful lot of drugs and things going around, rob cars, everything. So
when the series was close to the footpaths.
I lived in E block. It was known as the quiet block, but my block was certainly no quiet block. There used to be like junkies on the stairs. Like I swear to God, like they used to be banging up on the stairs. Sure, there's a woman who lived right at the stairs. She tried to kick them off and she got stabbed with a syringe.
The regeneration started really about 12 years ago, 14 years ago.
People said, no, things will never change here. But it was just a relief of going out and telling the people, yeah, this is going to happen. That was a big weight off your shoulders, I think, as well, you know what I mean? The residents, especially on the regeneration board.
I was very sad when the flats were getting knocked down, I have to say. That was very sad.
A few people were sceptical, a few people, you know what you do, nothing's going to be 100% perfect. It's not where you live, it's how you live. And when you have that community spirit, I think that's the strength of everything.
I think the festivals every year kind of helped because you marked every stage every year and that brought people together. That was one of the main things that brought everybody out, and we just kept going then because
that's true.
Everybody was involved. Like,
they were like rituals of marking certain parts of the journey, weren't they? Yeah. That's true.
So you just kept going forward then. Do you know what I mean?
So yeah, it was great having a fitted kitchen and so many presses. I think we had 2 presses in our little kitchen in the flats. And
then we didn't realise then the isolation. The people like in the apartments felt isolated then as well when they moved in, even though they had a beautiful apartment. And so then we had to get back and do something again about, you know, try getting involved. Even my own young fella, and I was just saying it the other day, it was nearly 2 years before he even could get a good night's sleep in the house. He just couldn't get used to the house because he was so used to flats.
Well, people learn from people, don't they?
The first time I ever saw men doing anything was during the World Cup. But now, you see them all around the place. That is a huge shift in us, you know.
I was actually very nervous during that, was, yeah. My spelling and writing and all was deplorable. It was like, I left school when I was 13, you know what I mean? And you want to see me writing and all, how much it's improved, you know. With the group and all, and then with the education and all, it kind of gives you confidence, a good boost and stuff like that, you know.
But that centre, that keeps half the people going that don't do as well, do you know what I mean?
I suppose I'm in the homework club now going on 4 years. So what we try to do is assess where each child, young person is, and then we divide them up then in terms of, you know, if they need one-to-one assistance, if they can work in a small group, or if they can work quite independent. It is such a lovely atmosphere here.
You come in and you sit down and the leaders help you with your homework. And then you go down to the kitchen afterwards and they give you something to eat and everything.
Then there's the cafe, there's the creche, there's the lingerie. There's new units now going to be open again. I think that's a butcher's, isn't it? And all the commercial people are coming in. They're things that we didn't have really before that we're having now.
Plus the president came here once. Was it president or queen? Princess? Queen, if I can't remember, Finland or something, was it?
Queen
Jordan. She was very privileged to meet us people here in Fatima.
The idea that we might have a generation of really culturally literate, independent thinking young people, I mean, is a very powerful thing. Do you know that way? I mean, you were at the gig last night, right? So you heard the compare and that simple sense of validating and talking to families and talking to parents and seeing that virtually every, you know, I mean, anyone that had a child performing in and around that place and the extent that they were there, do you know that way? And that was like a 2-hour gig played without an interval. So you're beginning to see the benefits of staying the course. Do you know that way?
Like, you used to look out and rob cars and there was fights, you know. Fatima had a reputation, you know. People used to fear it.
That's great. I've particularly Atlantic class and the old class of generation this morning, it was a medical condition. I'm really sorry, you know. So we come over here for lunchtime, spend an hour in the yoga practice. It's fantastic for me.
It's not about the building, it's not about the lovely furniture, which is great for the children to have, but that's not the happiest. Okay, it's great to have, but the happiest memories for me is when you actually see children, you know, they start with you now at 1, but it used to be 2, and then they leave you at 5, and they're competent little kids going off to national school.
The CE scheme, it's like for long-term unemployed to get them back into training and education.
Well, you see, you'd go to like meetings with Joni and stuff, and they'd say, where do you see yourself? Like, you finish here in 3 years, like, what do you want to do? And then when I found out, like, I didn't know any of this. I went for an interview for a makeup course in the Irish Academy of Beauty, and it was stupid money. And when I came back and put it to them, they had a meeting and I got it. If it wasn't for these, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Fair play to them. Like, I actually miss being down here now. A lot. Whatever you want, they'll help you get, and if not, then they'll try and point you in the right directions how to get it. Just brilliant.
So when we think about health, we think about health, and health, part of being well in yourself is about feeling part of something, participating in stuff. So you'd have a look at the education programs, the community employment projects, the arts projects. There's stuff of being going out on the streets to register your dissatisfaction of what's going on at government level, are all good indicators of people feeling healthy and well.
I'd hope to be here now for the rest of my life, you know.
You know, there's always loads happening for the kids and the festivals. There's always something exciting happening in that, whether you want to get involved or not.
As I kind of feel, if you let it slip, it's gone, do you know that way?
Like, it's how you keep it, it's not only getting it, like.
I think for me last year was the lowest of a lot of them now, when after all, like, we're in the houses nearly 5 years, and it was the worst summer we had here, since we moved into our houses. Now the drugs creeping back in, and you're always nervous. And I remember ringing Joe that night and saying, I'm just sick of it, Joe, I'm not putting up with it anymore. And you kind of want to give up, and then you think about it, and I'm coming in, and the next morning I'm saying to Joe, well, actually the more it's harvested, not giving up, like, they're not taking over the community. We let that happen years ago. Just thinking of the kids coming up now, people need to be strong.
To make a big difference, I think, to people's lives and give them opportunities, especially people that are long-term out of work and want to get back in. Or even if it's just for education, just to learn even literacy skills, makes a big difference in someone's life.
I'm a lone parent as well. I raised my daughter, and I mean, before I started here, like, I raised my daughter now on my own, like, about 5 years. I mean, I couldn't help her with her homework, you know. And now I can help her with her homework and stuff like that, you know. So that's what I'm getting out of it.
I think for me more now is looking at the young people, that they'd have a future and they'll have choices, and hopefully some way we can lay that path for them.
Because the rest of us will manage, you know, even some of the older mothers will also manage. But the concern is the younger ones coming up.
Like, it means, like, everything really, because we do come in here and we play football in the hall every day. And then I come in and play guitars and everything. Like, if I hadn't got this centre, I wouldn't be doing any of that. So it's good to be here. Like, we had bought the cabinets down the road just a few years ago, and then we built this, and then, like, they decided to build a pitch and everything. It was good. It's good around here.
Today, Fatima Groups United is a family resource centre, and we have clear programme commitments. So we manage a children's daycare centre, which is the home of up to hosts 75 children. Its emphasis is on good quality childcare provision for children, as well as supporting families.
Back in 2002, we were located in a 3-bed flat. Before we moved up here, we only had preschool age children, so they were 2 to 5. And when we moved up here, then we were able to offer services to under 2s. So we're the first community service in the area to actually offer under 2 placements. Unfortunately, some people are on very low incomes, and €160 over low income is a lot of money. Our priority are local people and people who are in need, as in children whose parents are in crisis. It's not about the building, it's not about the lovely furniture, which is great for the children to have, but that's not the happiest. Okay, it's great to have, but the happiest memories for me is when you actually see children, you know, they start with you now at 1, but it used to be 2, and then they leave you at 5, and they're competent little kids going off to national school. Also, you know, for children that may have issues, that may have fallen through the system. You know, to see those children where they're getting the support and the help that they need, whether it's speech and language, whether it's referring them on because it's social or child protection issues, at least you know they're safe.
We're not a school, you know, we're an after-school service that supports young people with their education, and that can be varying from different young people. So it's really important that we take each young person where they're at. So what happens is if they don't get it done, it becomes a spiral. They don't get it done the next day or the next day, and so it becomes quite contentious then for them, you know, and confidence dwindle. We open up at 2. 2 o'clock would be the junior senior infants, and 3:30 is the next group, so that would be 4th, 2nd and 3rd class, and then 4:30 then the 4th, 5th and 6th come in, and then from 6 o'clock until about 7:30 the secondary come in then. So in terms of the educational component, educational support, it's, you know, 5.5 hours a day. We also run a number of social programs, so you've just been in with our guitars that currently now it looks as if potentially will be scrapped after Christmas because the funding has completely run out of it. So we've 26 young people in there with a waiting list of 15. We have street theatre production that we work with a lot, 60 young people in that do stilton, puppetry, street performance work. And it's a shame if it goes because the passions of young people are so important and opportunities are so important, and it's a constant battle and a constant struggle to get money.
We manage a community employment scheme which effectively runs and manages the facility here.
The CE scheme, it's like for long-term unemployed, to get them back into training and education.
Well, you see, you'd go to like meetings with Joni and stuff, and they'd say, where do you see yourself? Like, you finish here in 3 years, like what do you want to do? And then when I found out, like, I didn't know any of this. I went for an interview for a makeup course in the Irish Academy of Beauty, and it was stupid money. And when I came back and put it to them, they had a meeting and I got it.
Sometimes the length of time a person can remain on CE can sometimes be a bit too short, because by the time they get to learn the ropes of running the place, they are told, your CE term is up.
Like after 20 weeks, you know yourself, you walk away, you go, yeah, I think I know. Unless they're practicing, they can't, you know that way? Where if they had it done like a couple of, maybe a year of it, there wouldn't have been no problem to them.
I do think CE games play a big part in getting men involved, because if we hadn't got the CE scheme here, I don't think you'd have men. You'd have the 1 or 2 men that usually, come on, go out and give us a hand, you know what I mean? But they're really beginning to get involved more.
To be quite honest with you, I do on Monday and Friday here, I'm in the back to education upstairs, which I was more nervous going into the education than I was, you know, and before I started here, I could never see myself going back to that type of education, you know. But that's kind of given me a thing now where it's had to open up a lot of things in my head now, where I'm actually going to try go on to Minute next year, you know what I mean? My spelling and writing and all was deplorable. It was like I left school when I was 13, you know what I mean? And you're going to see me writing and all how much it's improved, you know. You know, even if I'd be going in somewhere and someone asked me to sign a form, I used to actually start sweating because I knew my writing was that bad, you know. I'm a lone parent as well, I read my daughter, and I mean, before I started here, I read my daughter now on my own, about 5 years. I mean, I couldn't even help over her homework, you know. And now I can help over her homework and stuff like that, you know. So that's what I'm getting out of it.
We have a good track record in CE of people going into education and coming out the other side, haven't we?
Yeah.
And a lot of people from CE do have got jobs.
Yeah,
you know,
the
from
2 girls now tomorrow are going to be doing a presentation to CERT, the young girls, and that was 2 girls from CE that delivered them courses. So
they're brilliant, and I'd love to go on more with them. Like 2 of the girls are pregnant, and they used to come to me when they were doing it and say, love getting out for the few hours, love just doing this, it's great. For them, like, kind of waiting the baby, and doing young girls as well. I've been there, I know what it's like. I'd hate to see them just not do what they want to do and end up working in a crap job. They're all really into it. Like, when the whole lot of them, every one of them really, really, really like it. If it wasn't for these, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Fair play to them. Like, I actually miss being down here now. A lot. This is where the crack is. Everyone's sound, there's no hassle with anything. Whatever you want, they'll help you get, and if not, then they'll try and point it in the right directions how to get it. I want to go on and do further, more. As I kind of feel if you let it slip, it's gone, do you know that way?
The arts project and the role of arts has been really important here in terms of empowering people.
Communities were always hungry for stuff, but they didn't necessarily know how to or have the means to engage artists on terms that were interesting and developmental.
Bringing back to the first event, the first significant event here was held in 1997, called Born the Demons, Embracing the Future.
Which was a major, probably a pivotal point, you know, in consciousness, I think, within the area around the innate strength of the community to place itself in front of other people and to be able to say, not that, possibly what we're feeling and thinking matters more than you imagine, and we're going to demonstrate that.
And that was a major event. A lot of people talk about that event in 1997 as being the catalyst for making a push to try turn things around here.
And I've heard old ones here, like, and I've seen them in interviews say things like, not since the Corpus Christi, you know, processions of the 50, you know, or whatever like that has to be as even better than river dance. We then got like a social and a cultural definition of regeneration. So within that then, the place of the arts were valued naturally by the community. Then I was able to work a lot more closely with children's organisations, youth organisations, adult education, people interested in the idea of culture, of identity, of the arts and how they help literacies and intelligences move on.
This was a project that we took on. I think there was two remaining blocks that was to come down, and we were always mindful that the residents, well, they were busy getting settled in their new homes, they were forgetting that the flats were gone. Right. So we ran a festival and it was called Bury My Heart in Fatima. So what we done was residents came and made their own clay heart and written little messages on them. And on the night then we had a big finale and he'd come up and he'd put it on.
Because there's no point to getting out to do real work unless you can secure the conditions under which there's a continuum of provision and where people's expectations can naturally be met once they try hard with certain pathways.
Arts has played a really important role in terms of telling the story, creating people who've gone on to do music, arts, drama over the last 10 years here.
At the moment we have almost 80 people involved in subgroups around different art forms, planning and designing programs with artists.
We've had mockness here, living here in flats with the local residents, and we've had a lot of interesting creative moments to say the least.
That old polarity between the artist and the gatekeeper, you know, we're narrowing that one down.
I think artists will be the first to say, you know, it's been very enriching and rewarding here, but getting the balance between locals' analysis of what arts is and what an artist's perception of any particular event might be, sometimes can be very challenging. And obviously artists are bohemian and bring a difference, and that was really, really important, particularly for children, in terms of bringing new ideas, new faces.
In the first instance, a lot of it here, particularly in Fatima, whereas there's always good artwork going on with children and young people for a variety of reasons, the sense of anticipating change, you know, having to mark change and having to cope emotionally with big change, meant that one major facet of the work that went on here was based on ritual, street spectacle, you know, claiming public space, you know, forms of public art that were emerged out of a respect for what the community were thinking and feeling. You know, local people got involved negotiating with Lewis, you know, around stuff. Impulses around the arts and culture in the early days were in the service of the big change, and they worked particularly well. And then we were able to get a little bit more involved in the idea of looking at generational change, and particularly working with children and young people. Then we had that opportunity, moving into regeneration, to say, okay, let's take this time as an opportunity to look holistically at life and what matters in the community. You know, in effect, a new agenda, you know, with 9 areas, including arts and culture, you know, along with education, along with health, along with various other areas that we said needed a type of attention, not just funding, but a type of attention and a way in which these things could be animated. Culture is everything, you know. So, and within that, the arts are languages. And how many languages do you need if you need to express yourself at a time of change? As many as you can have. And you know, especially if you're not used to it or you haven't been seen and respected. If you've, as this place was, absolutely blacked within the media for the guts of 15 or 20 years with negative imagery. You know, we've really got to work. The idea that we might have a generation of really culturally literate, independent thinking young people, I mean, is a very powerful thing, you know, that way. I mean, you were at the gig last night, right? So and you heard the compare and the simple sense of validating and talking to families and talking to parents and seeing that virtually every, you know, I mean, anyone that had a child performing in and around that place from the extent that they were there, you know, that way. And that was like a 2-hour gig played without an interval. But there's pride was a word that's used. You don't get that easily, do you know what I mean? That comes about incrementally over time. So you're beginning to see the benefits of staying the course, do you know that way? In the visual arts, right, we had about a dozen or 15 young people working in all the major cultural institutions of Dublin, painting, doing etchings, you know, critiquing shows. Now they're all about 11, 12, 13, you know. They went, you know, National Gallery, Douglas Hyde, Emma. They had workshops in NCAD, RHA, whatever, you know. And they had an exhibition downstairs last week of their work, only to their families, right? While down there in one of the enterprise spaces, because one of the kids, when we're giving them, a lot of the kids just like the idea of well, let's just say, less attracted to the idea of drawing or fine work or standing over their work or whatever like that, but like the idea of tools and, you know, energy and so on. And they said they wanted to make a house, so literally to scale, they've made a house down there, including all the furniture and all the whatever, and there was about 80 of them there every Monday and Wednesday for 4 weeks. And it's a piece of work in progress, you know. But the, you know, sawing, you know, glue guns, you know, battering in tiles, all of that sort of stuff. And particularly with, you know, there's kids, understandably, with short attention spans or have been screwed up in school for a variety of reasons or wouldn't be able to give you their best attention in terms of respecting what's going on. But that place was like an incubator of energy, you know. So just within one sphere of the arts, you know, you've got maybe like a recognition around the different levels of which needs exist. For some people it's exposure, recreation, others it's a little bit more towards, no, I want to, this is me, this is my world, and how I read the world and respond to the world really matters. And then there's those that actually begin to think in terms of, I could do something with this, and they have a vocational kind of view of this, or could I, or might I? And, you know, even say, coming through the music tradition now, there's a couple of kids that are now in music school, right? So, and moving on. And kids see them, and then they think, why not? And it's the same, it can be the same in any art form. It's just the question, the equality question, and then the conditions and the extent to which the community owns and understands that.
I suppose, I mean, the official aim of the project is to tackle the high rates of ill health in this community. But actually, what we try and do from a non-medical approach would be to facilitate people to look after their own well-being. And the medical model focuses on illness, so they just see you as an ill person that has to be cured. Where we would focus that we hope that people will be in control of their own health.
I used to attend the health project as a community development health worker, so it was to, you know, set up women's groups, parent and toddler groups, you know, respond to needs in the community, and whatever needs came back, then we would respond to that in a very organic way, I suppose, like just, you know, bringing people together, a cup of tea, something to eat, see what they wanted from that community.
At the moment, I'm involved with a series of leaflets, and on the leaflets, the local cab company in Rialto gave us €5 fares to any hospital, any of the 3 hospitals in a 5-mile radius, or any GP within a 2-mile radius. A barber volunteered to go to the houses of all the elderly people in Rialto and cut their hair for a £5. The local chemist in Rialto volunteered that she would take 20% off a different product every 2 weeks.
And what we do is provide opportunities for them to access that control, and that can be anything from group work. It can be looking at healthy lifestyles like You know, it can be exercise, it can be support groups around issues that are affecting people. Like at the moment, I would say debt and stress from debt would be massive. That's probably happened to the whole country, but in fact, you know, it obviously hits people who are experiencing poverty on a much higher level.
That's great. It's probably lost about. I've particularly Pilates class and the yoga class of generation is going with medical conditions. I'm really sorry now. And I'm studying a lot, so it's going to make it worse. So break up the studying, they come over here for lunchtime, spend an hour doing yoga or Pilates. It's fantastic for me. It really helps me down.
But this class, because it's for the community, anyone can come in and out each week. In other particular classes, they kind of have to enrol for an 8-week block or a 10-week block. But here, people can kind of come in and just do a class and maybe miss a week and come back and do another class. Good laugh, great laugh, yeah. You see them, they're great crack. Yeah, we come in, have the chats for about 10 minutes at the start, see how everyone's doing, and then at the end we do probably about 10 minutes relaxation at the end, and then have a little natter before they all head off for the week.
And one of the things that probably people who have a higher income can access really easy is holistics. So that would be massage, Reiki, you know, Indian head massage. Sometimes if you have a very mad household and maybe children or whatever, and a lot of noise going on in your life, actually when you come to the holistic sessions, they're very quiet and peaceful.
It doesn't become a clique that's just a few people that have become very good at this. They keep widening the circle of people who are, I mean, look at how many men are engaged.
So there are an awful lot of men now who you'll see in this building. In years gone by, in the old community centre, in the old flats, there was never a man, there wasn't a man about. I think I was the only bloke around, and then Neil joined the team. Now we have a strong core of men who are involved, not just in terms of managing the facilities here, in terms of, you know, the maintenance end of things, but also engaged in education training. There's a number of men who've gone on to third level education.
Well, I thought the crack is coming and being in the group, you know. It didn't matter about learning that. Once you came in, joined the group, cup of tea or a crack, you know. It was a place for men to come, really. Because around the area, a lot of women aren't here. We're trying to get the men into the centre, but there's not a lot of men left because of the drugs and everything. A lot of them are wiped out, so the men left need something, you know, somewhere to go, something to be, you know. They need identity, you know.
I was actually very nervous during that, I was very apprehensive about joining, you know. Yeah, but then once I got into it then after a couple of weeks, then I would love what I do, you know what I mean? I wouldn't miss it, like, you know, it's absolutely brilliant to this, you know. Couldn't give you a bit of confidence and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Well, we meet and we have a chat and we just talk about things and then we decide what we're going to do, where we're going to go, you know.
But I just think it's more relaxed, you know what I mean? It's more relaxed environment. I don't know, it's hard to explain, you know what I mean? It's just that everyone kind of just gets on so well with each other and there's no pressure on you as well, you know what I mean? So I just think it's great.
We've links like with all the cancer screening agencies, so breast check and the cervical smear and those. And what we do is we don't force information down people's throat. What we do is we try and just weave it in and out of the work, so it becomes a much more natural thing if people want to hear about it, and we'd support people going to avail of those. There's specific programs that have been going. One is a parent and toddler group, and that started many years ago, really through our links with the public health nurse. And she used to come. She's called the baby nurse. She would come, you know, and weigh babies, you know, in their young years, and that became kind of a feature. Then that became a very important part of our health project. And where the baby nurse or the public health nurse now comes maybe once a month or once every 6 weeks, what's grown out of it is that a drop in for parents and toddlers. And again, sometimes we've grandparents, we've men coming, which is fantastic. Women, sometimes just guardians of children, and everyone is welcome. And it's a very casual atmosphere, and at the same time the health worker's role within that would be to listen to issues, encourage people to avail of other stuff that's going on, and if necessary help them link with the services that are needed. Children with disabilities can be very isolated from what's going on in their communities, and it can be very difficult and stressful for parents to get out of their own homes. And we looked at a model where we decided we would form a kind of a physical fitness club, if you like, but really with the underpinning is that physical exercise is good for for a range of disabilities, probably good for everyone anyway, but actually with children with disabilities, for children with Down syndrome, for example, with balance and all of that. Autism, it's really good for sensory integration issues, and we kicked off the gymnastics last year, a year ago, and I suppose it's just been a really positive experience. When we did an evaluation, for example, with the parents just there before the summer, the comments were that, their children can run into this building, they're welcome, nobody looks at them sideways, they enjoy themselves, and they also have a friendship club, which is really, really nice. And then the parents themselves, I suppose, just they have an opportunity, they have an hour to themselves, sometimes they have a cup of tea, and they get a huge amount of support from each other. Through the research that we carried out in 2009, one of the big issues that are affecting people in this area, and that was over the whole of Rialto, is mental health.
So when we think about health, we think about health, and health, part of being well in yourself is about feeling part of something, participating in stuff. So you'd have a look at the education programs, the community employment projects, the arts projects. There's stuff about even going out on the streets to register your dissatisfaction with what's going on at government level, are all good indicators of people feeling healthy and well.
We've run these courses from time to time. It's called Keeping Yourself Well in the Recession. Most of our work is group work, but the one area where we thought there was a gap in this community was, I suppose at times people, they can't get out of their problem, and one-to-one counselling can really help that. And what we have managed to do is have very close links with the primary care team, which includes the GP, physio, occupational therapist, and actually psychologist. I suppose core to the work for us is that we try and respond to the needs of the community as we hear them, and the health workers are the eyes and ears of the community.